In February of 1957, a 4-year-old boy was found dead inside of a cardboard box in Philadelphia. To this day, we don't know who he was or how he died, but that might all be about to change. It's me, and this is the most haunting unsolved mystery of all time. In this video, we'll talk about the case of the boy in the box and how in 2022 we may finally have answers for one of America's oldest and most haunting child murder mysteries. The first clue in this mystery came from a woman named Doris Core. On the morning of February 25, 1957, she left her home on the 6800 block of North 13th Street in Philadelphia and took a walk down the road. She wanted to deliver some newspapers and then collect the empty bottles and cartons that people left out on their porches for the weekly garbage collection. As she walked down the street, Doris turned onto a narrow alley between two buildings, and it was then she saw something sitting at the end of the alley between the trash cans which were lined up against the wall. It was a small cardboard box tied shut with a string. The box was wrapped in oilcloth, and as Doris got closer, she heard what sounded like gurgling. So she called out, "Hello, is anybody in there?" When she received no response, Doris pulled the string and opened the box. Inside, she found a little boy who appeared to be dead. She immediately called the police, and when they arrived, they found that the child had been dead for several days. He was wrapped in a blanket, and when he was removed from the box, officers found that he had been beaten severely around the head, and his little body was covered in cuts, bruises, and welts. The child was only wearing a t-shirt and undershirt, and his shoes were missing. His pants had also been removed, but these had been stuffed into one of the shoes that the police found nearby. And his socks were missing. An autopsy report would later reveal that the child had been starved, and that his injuries had been so severe that it was hard to tell exactly where the beating had come from. Ultimately, the cause of death was determined to be blunt force trauma to the head. But even after 65 years, we still don't know who was responsible. At the time of his discovery, the boy was estimated to be between 4 and 6 years old. He was 4 feet tall and weighed just 38 pounds. He had reddish-brown hair that was very curly. And although he had been well-nourished prior to his death, he was severely malnourished when he died. He had a small scar above his left eye, another scar on his right leg, and several scars and cuts on his left arm. His teeth were healthy and well cared for, which suggested that his mother likely took good care of him despite whatever circumstances they were living in. But his shoes were worn and didn't match, which suggested that whoever bought them didn't have much money, and the fact that he wasn't wearing any pants when he was found led investigators to believe that he was abused sexually. But again, after all this time, we just don't have any answers. One of the biggest problems early on was that the media spread conflicting reports about the appearance of the child. Some said he had brown eyes, while others claimed that he had blue. This confusion led to hundreds of leads coming in with people claiming that they had seen a child matching the description, but none of those tips ever panned out. Over the years, as forensic technology improved, police were able to get more accurate measurements and a better look at the victim, but nobody came forward with any new information. Finally, in 1970, an artist named Frank Relia created a composite sketch of the boy based on the description given by witnesses. But even that didn't lead to any new leads. Eventually, the case went cold, but it never really went away. The boy was given the name America's Unknown Child and became one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries in U.S. history. But in recent years, there have been some developments. First, in 2010, a group of volunteers decided that they wanted to take matters into their own hands. They purchased a full-page ad in a local newspaper offering a $10,000 reward for any information that could help solve the case. Then, in 2013, a man named Joe D'Angelo came forward and claimed that he knew who was responsible for killing the boy. According to Joe, he worked with a man named Joe Buck, and while he was working for him, Joe Buck brought him to a house and told him that he needed him to remove a box from the basement. Joe did as he was told, and then he helped bring the box out of the house. At some point, Joe asked Aubach what was in the box, and he replied that it was a dead kid. He told Joe to keep quiet and promised that he would take care of him if anyone ever found out. Joe agreed to keep a secret for over 50 years, but in 2013, he started having second thoughts. He contacted the police and told them everything he knew. However, it was too late. Joe Aubach had passed away in 2002, so unfortunately, Joe's tip didn't pan out. Since then, the case has largely gone cold once again, but there is hope that new DNA technology will finally provide some answers. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. If this happened in 1957, how can we use modern DNA technology to solve it? Well, here's the thing. We don't need DNA evidence from the crime scene to solve this case because we already have a potential suspect. Back in 2021, a man named Paul Kupers came forward and claimed that he was adopted and that his biological father was Joseph Augustus Zarelli. Paul says that his parents always told him that he was adopted, but as he got older, he began to question things. He started searching for his biological family and eventually came across a book called Deadly Little Secret, which details the story of America's unknown child. And when he read about the boy in the box, something clicked. Paul scheduled a DNA test, and it revealed that there was a 99.9% chance that Joseph was his biological father. That would mean that Paul is either the boy in the box or his half-brother. And if Paul is not the boy in the box, then his half-brother is. Unfortunately, Paul's biological grandfather, Joseph Zarelli, died in 1999, so it's too late to confirm anything. But the good news is that Paul's biological father, Joseph Augustus Zarelli, is still alive. Police are currently trying to locate him so they can ask him some questions. And if he agrees, they want to run a DNA test to see if he's a match. Paul says that his father would never agree to the test, but even if he does, there's still another problem. You see, according to the official timeline, Joseph would have been just 17 years old at the time the boy was killed. And if Paul is his son, then he would have been born after the murder. That means there's a chance that there's more to the story and that there could be other people involved. Still, this is the closest lead in decades, and hopefully it will provide answers to one of America's most haunting, unsolved mysteries. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think happened to the boy in the box? Let me know your theories down in the comments below. And, as a thank you for sticking around until the end, here's one final thought. This case really makes you wonder why people do what they do. I mean, if you were living in poverty, would you really go out of your way to hurt a child? And if you were a child back in the 1950s, what would life have been like for you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell to stay up to date on all my latest videos. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.